Can the Savage Axis be saved? If you own a Savage Axis, you are not alone. I bought one, and I genuinely want to hear from you in the comments. Do you love it, or do you wish that you would have spent just a little more money to step into a more refined rifle? Today, we're setting out to answer one question. Is this rifle a budget gem or a total bust? And can we fix it on a budget without turning it into a money pit? The Savage Axis is one of the most common first hunting rifles out there. It's built as an economical rifle for the hunter on a budget. Some people love them and can't believe you can get such an accurate rifle for so little money, while others complain about, well, just about everything else. So here's my story. A few years ago, I bought this Axis as a Christmas gift for my youngest son. He was falling in love with hunting and becoming an excellent little marksman. Up until this point, he had been using my rifles. So this was a special moment for me as a dad. I got it on a Black Friday sale. It was a killer deal that I got at the local Bass Pro. Now, I wanted this to be a big deal, like almost a rite of passage moment for me with my son. I was proud of the responsible young man that he was becoming, and this was gonna be a special gift to honor that. Well, here's what happened. As I said before, my son had been training and hunting with some of my rifles. Without me realizing it, he was learning on rifles that had, pretty smooth actions, light trigger pulls, and most of them were outfitted with either like a suppressor or a muzzle brake. I remember taking him to the range. Excitement was in the air. He walked in so pumped and proud of this new rifle. Everything was going as planned until he shot his first few rounds. That smile that was on his face, it turned upside down, and with frustration, and here's this little 11-year-old kid, he's almost in borderline tears, and his eyes look, he's just looking at me and he's like, "Dad, this bolt sucks, the trigger sucks, the scope sucks, the recoil, it hurts. I'm never shooting this rifle again." Not at all the moment that I thought it would be. I was hoping again for something special there with him. Now, I'm thinking, how does an 11-year-old boy even know any of that? That the bolt sucks, the trigger sucks. But the truth is, he wasn't wrong. And this rifle, it got parked in the safe. He literally never shot. He has not shot this rifle again ever since. After several years, it is still less than 20 rounds through it. It has sat in the safe. It has never once seen the field. And it still even has a sticker on it as a reminder of a proud dad moment that never really lived up to what I'd hoped. So why on earth would I make a video about it now? Well, fast forward to a few weeks ago. A Hunt League buddy reached out. He's a great dad with young boys, and he asked me for some help sighting in a new hunting rifle that he had just bought for his boys. So I met him at the range, and lo and behold, what does he pull out? Nothing other than the Savage Axis. And it's almost identical to mine. It's black instead of the camo, but it's almost the same, but instead of a 6.5 Creedmoor, he bought it in a 308. And it's a tool that he proudly bought to pass down to his boys, and one he's anxious to go out and make some memories with. Maybe his boys are gonna fall in love with it and they're not gonna know the difference. Now, as we're just getting started, I got behind the rifle, ready to send that first round down range. And on that first trigger pull, I start squeezing the trigger, but nothing's happening. And I came off the rifle thinking, well, the safety must be on. Nope. It wasn't. Wow. I unloaded it. I had to dry fire it a few times, reminding myself what I was up against with this rifle. It has that rough bolt. It has that heavy trigger. And it's that rifle that just screams, I'm a budget rifle. But needless to say, we pressed on. We got our first few shots downrange. And oh yeah, I remember now, the recoil. It had been a while since I've shot without a brake or a suppressor. And even in a 308, which is a relatively light recoiling cartridge with no brake, it packed a punch. And I'm thinking, especially for kids. Now, even though the Axis screams budget rifle, the one I own, it still honestly shoots pretty well. We brought this rifle out to the range in a recent video where we took a look at some Bergara rifles, and my buddy Rich with Hawkins Precision and Trigger Tech, I mean, he's a true professional. I mean, he's an incredible shooter. He was able to take this rifle and shoot sub MOA with his first 3 rounds. It's a violent little Creedmoor, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't that dirty?
That scope is
Special.
it's been a while since I looked through a scope like that.
Unfortunately though, my buddy's Axis, it was struggling to group at all. Now we've got a pretty full list of things that need improving. We've got the trigger, we've got the bolt throw, we got the recoil, definitely needs a new optic and mounting setup. I mean, it's a pretty flimsy stock that occasionally likes to make contact with the barrel. And with this particular rifle, meaning my buddy's, accuracy. Now, honestly, at this point, the big question becomes, should you try and trade it for something else, or do you try to improve it? Trying not to be rude, I posed that question to my buddy and I gave him my 2 cents. I said, if this was my rifle, I would probably see what Scheels would give me for it. And I encourage him to think about possibly trading it for another budget rifle, maybe like the CVA Cascade that many of you know I already loved. You know, it may cost just a little bit more, but in my opinion, it is a 10 times better option right out of the box. Now, for him, he wanted to stick with it because he liked the deal that he got on it. So we both have a Savage Axis. Let's acknowledge it as a budget rifle and see if we can make a few low budget upgrades. If we can turn it maybe into something a little more. Let's make the most of what we've got. We're gonna spend just a little money, making a few changes. And if you own a Savage Axis, you can ask yourself the same question. Do you wanna maybe trade it and upgrade? Or do you wanna try to soup one of these bad boys up? Is upgrading a Savage Axis the smartest financial decision? Probably not. You can spend just a little more upfront and get into a rifle that feels better from day one. But here's the reality. Tons of hunters already own this exact rifle. And if we can make it shoot and feel better and you learn a few ways that you can improve your rifle's performance, it may inspire confidence and a sense of pride in your rifle. So here's the plan for this series and what we're gonna do with this Savage Axis. Let's talk about some cheap fixes. First, we're gonna address this trigger. It's terrible. We're gonna improve it. We're not gonna replace it. Bolt action. We're gonna install a little lift kit in it that's gonna help with how heavy it is. Right now it's pulling it takes about 11 pounds of force. And when my little boy was first starting, I mean, he was having to like hammer it with his hand and he was really struggling just to open this bolt. We're gonna address the recoil and maybe thread the barrel, maybe put a brake on it, maybe a suppressor, do something on that front. We are going to change this optic. We're not gonna overspend here because it is a true budget rifle, but we still wanna put some reasonable glass on it and not something that is too cheap where you're gonna buy a cheap optic and it's not really ever gonna perform. So we are gonna spend probably a little more money on this than we should for a budget build. And we're gonna look at possibly improving the stock, maybe adding something for the rigidity, being able to add maybe a pick up front, an ARCA, something along those lines. And that's all I wanna touch with this rifle, which is pretty much everything. And as we go, we'll do some field style tests and let you decide, was it worth it? The whole point though is to see if these upgrades actually produce real improvement in the field, and it's not just about how it looks or feels. I'm kind of tempted to see if I can take this like absolute budget rifle and see if I can turn it into something that I may even consider using in an upcoming rifle match. All right, episode 1, that is the why. Up next is the fixes. In the next video, we will start probably with the biggest improvement that's the smallest investment, which is gonna be the trigger. This trigger sucks. Even when you adjust to it and you know how hard it's gonna be to pull, you are still pulling so hard it's near impossible to pull it without inducing torque on the rifle, which is always going to open up your group sizes. So if you've got a Savage Axis or you're considering one, you're in the right place. Drop a comment below. Do you love your Axis? Do you hate it? Or are you kind of somewhere in between with it? And tell me, what caliber did you get with it? What are you running? Subscribe now if you want to follow the full build, because we're either turning this lemon into lemonade, or we're gonna help you cut bait with a dead end rifle so that you can get into something that you're gonna like way, way better. This could be the answer though. We might be able to fix this for relatively inexpensive, and it might be something you wanna do with your Savage Axis. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here real soon.